Hey everyone. On November 15th, 2023, we recorded 3 episodes of the show in front of a live studio audience at the Main in downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Here's episode 1 from the Balancing Act podcast live. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today we have Neal Zygarlicke joining us. Neal is CEO of the La Crosse Area Chamber of Commerce right here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Welcome to the show, Neal.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate you having me on the show, and congratulations on your second book.
That's awesome. And Dana, I've lost clicker control, so the first question for you is, tell our listeners your story.
I grew up in Marshfield, Wisconsin, which is if you look at a map of Wisconsin, it's the dead center of Wisconsin, but I went to school at Viterbo University here in La Crosse, and I never left. I ended up working for a company called First Supply, which is a wholesale distribution company of plumbing, HVAC, waterwork, kitchen and bath products. Worked there for 9 years in internal audit, a little bit of consulting, and then I ran some of their property management as well. And I decided to up and leave that wonderful family-owned company and had the opportunity to be the CEO at the La Crosse Area Chamber of Commerce.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Neal. So that one event in your life that just put rocket boosters behind your career, what would that be?
I honestly think one of the first opportunities to work outside of college at First Supply. I had an amazing opportunity to work there, and I reported directly to the CFO, dotted line to the CEO, and even was able to report to the board of directors for the company. And I think at a really young age, I was very fortunate to have that opportunity and sit in the room with CEOs, CFOs, that C-suite, family ownership, and really take in what they thought was important and what was important to them, and how do you take that and get it down to the frontline people and the frontline managers. It was a really fortunate opportunity for me.
Yeah, so what another reason for the students in the room to not leave La Crosse so fast is that direct connectivity that you can get in a community like this right to the leadership of an organization. I think that's a wonderful example that you've given us.
Yeah, in La Crosse, they for here or in the world, people talk about like the 6 degrees of separation. I'd say in La Crosse, it's like 2 degrees of separation. You can probably find someone that's really influential in town and get coffee with them at any time. You really can. It's you don't see that everywhere in the world. You don't see that everywhere in the United States.
Right. But a word of advice, my dear friend Norbert Nix, who's in the music business, some of you know of Norbert from the band Phoenix that plays around every now and then. He told me, because we talk about the music industry, and his point to me in an episode of this show was, no one is inaccessible. If you work hard enough at it, you can get to anybody. So don't think that they're super big and cool and I'm never going to be able to talk to them.
I think half the time in La Crosse, you're probably getting a coffee or pumping gas right next to those people who are also running businesses,
right.
Who are really amazing leaders.
Right. So tell us about the Chamber. What's the organization's top priority? And if you had to encapsulate the Chamber's purpose in just a few sentences, what's the elevator pitch?
Yeah, the Chamber exists to do what one business can't do alone. It's a group of businesses that come together to be a part of association to do things like community development, talent attraction, so that people want to live and work in a certain area. For us, it's La Crosse, the greater La Crosse, Wisconsin area. And it's just an opportunity for like-minded business people to get together to further better our area so that people want to live and work here. That's really the purpose.
Yeah, awesome. So you personally, you come from First Supply. You're an accountant by training, right?
I'm not an accountant by trade, so no,
But weren't you in audit?
It was operational, and that was actually one of the first questions I asked when they said this opportunity was available. I said, I'm not an accountant, and they said, that's okay. Do you have a general understanding of it? And I said, yes, I do. They said, okay. We'll hire you.
Our former CFO is sitting right out there. He's absolutely horrified by this right now.
It wasn't all financial audit. There's a lot of operational compliance and things like that.
Yeah. So, but why is leading the chamber the right fit for you in this moment of your life?
Yeah, the first thing for me, I went to Viterbo University. I never left. So all of a sudden, I got hired. I liked First Supply. I all of a sudden loved and fell in love with being in La Crosse, and I didn't want to leave the area. So for me, it was just having a bigger impact on the businesses and the community that make this place so great. I just had a calling to do that, and it's extremely rewarding work. And for me personally, it's an opportunity to positively impact a lot of people. And I hope that I do that every day in how I conduct myself. But it's just a lot of fun getting out in front of the business community and encouraging them to do the right thing, to be good people, and to lead their businesses well.
Well, direct from me at a station, you drew me in to the chamber. Meeting you, getting to know you, I was like, I want to partner with those folks. So congratulations.
I appreciate that, but I also know there's a great team behind me that does a lot of the work, and a lot of times I get to just show up and say hi and work with the people, but our team is fantastic at the chamber.
Yes. Let's talk balancing acts. It's the name of the show. What's the primary balancing act that you and your team play when interacting with the community and chamber members?
I mean, the first, it's not much a balance, but you just have to be positive at all times. But for us, we really try to focus on our 3 to 4 core functions and services. And I think any business can do that. Narrow down what you are really good at and what those core functions are and name them. And there's a lot of times part of the balancing act is when you start to have momentum within your business, all of a sudden people are going to ask and pull you in a different direction. They want you to tackle issues that maybe are outside of your service area or not within your expertise. And that can be tough, especially from a chamber and a community perspective, because you want to help. You want to maybe lead the charge. But if it's not within your realm and your expertise, that's a balancing act. That's very difficult to say, no, not right now, but I want to support.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an important lesson for everybody in all businesses. I know in the business that Mike and I and a number of former colleagues here, Chet Heacock sitting back there, we dealt with that all the time. There was no shortage of ideas of where we could go and what we were doing, but if you're constantly going next, and not taking care of what you started in the first place, bad things can happen.
It just can devalue some of those core functions that you once were really great at, and that's the worry.
Yeah. In the book, the 2 books over on the table over there, which we're going to go to commercial break here soon, that concept is front and center through those books. Goal setting, knowing your what makes you different as an organization, how you differentiate is important to long-term sustainability of any business. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Neal Zygarlicke.
Hi, I'm Andy Temte. Over the past 35 years, I've learned a lot about business leadership, and I'd like to share those lessons with you. Ask yourself, how do I create an effective, sustainable management operating system? How do I design smooth workflows to better serve the customer? How do I balance organizational trust with accountability? The Balanced Business describes the practical, step-by-step process you need to answer these questions. Order your copy today wherever books are sold.
And we're back with Neal Zygarlicke from the La Crosse Chamber talking about community and community involvement. Neal, I got to tell you, the Chamber has a renewed vibrance and shine since you've come on board, you and your team, as you've mentioned. Let's run a quick thought experiment. Suppose you have a group of leaders from other similarly sized chambers sitting right in front of you right now. What advice do you have for them on how to inject new energy into their organization?
It goes back to a little bit of what I said before. That very first thing is figure out your 3 to 5 core functions. You almost need to do an audit of what you're doing and figure out, does it fit within these core functions? If it doesn't, it sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions and just cut it. The second thing that I would tell other chamber leaders or just leaders in general is tell everyone who will listen. This is exactly what we're doing and who we are, and be very transparent about that. These are our functions. This is what we do. The third thing I think of is do a deep dive on who's engaging with you. Whether that be at the chamber or a business level, who's your audience and who are you also missing too? For us, we're a community organization, so we want to be welcoming. We want people to feel like they can come to our events and feel like they belong, so that's extremely important. And if you find that there's a certain group of people that are not attending or not engaging with you, you got to look in the mirror. Why?
Right.
Why is that? What's happening? Why did we get here? And really think about those things. The last thing I would say for other chamber executives and people who are leading either community organizations, be a champion of the community. Celebrate other people's successes. Encourage them and tell them the good work, and encourage them and tell them that they're doing great work.
Yeah, so you just listed off a number of tenets of continuous improvement, whether you know it or not. Having a maniacal focus on your customer. Everybody in this room needs to be thinking about that every day, so that's great advice. And then just that question why, and continuing to ask why as many times as it takes to get down to root cause.
The audit world talks about the 5 whys, right? To get to the root cause, but it's the 5 whys of any issue.
Right. We have at least 2 wonderful continuous improvement and culture experts, several culture experts in the audience here, but I'll name one. Dear friend Tim Eimerman is here, and he taught me all about continuous improvement. So thank you, Tim. So Neal, you sit in a very unique chair. If I asked you to pinpoint one thing that's keeping leaders in the La Crosse community up at night, so you're out there talking to leaders all the time. What is keeping leaders in La Crosse up at night?
You know, it's interesting because of the worker shortage that we're in right now. And I think a lot of business leaders would say a worker shortage, but when you start to peel back the onion and have conversations around it, it's not necessarily the worker shortage. It's, am I doing enough as a leader to help the people that I'm leading? Am I removing obstacles? Are they feeling like they are valued, that they belong, that they matter, that their work is great, that they have a purpose? And a lot of times when I talk to leaders in the La Crosse area, and you say, what does keep you up at night? They flat out just say, my people. I worry about my people. And that's, I think that's what most would say when you start to have a more deeper, vulnerable conversation.
Yeah. Yes, let that applause wash over you, because that is, I'm so happy to hear that out of out of the leaders of our La Crosse community. And it's really no surprise that it's all about the people here in this area. So Neal, let's have some fun. I'm going to put Neal into a time machine now. I'm going to send Neal back to a previous version of himself with maybe 280 characters to work with. What's the message and what previous version of yourself do you choose to send it to?
I'll actually go with a personal one here. The first one is actually meeting my wife at a college downtown bar here in La Crosse. Yeah.
All right.
I'd love to just grab myself by the shirt and say, that's going to be your wife someday. She's going to bring you a whole lot of joy and love. She's going to make you a better person. You should figure things out right now rather than waiting, a year and a half to really figure it out.
So there was a long gestation period?
Oh, there was a long, yeah, absolutely. As a professional, I would go back to probably when I was 25, and I would say, hey, speak up a little bit more. Be your own advocate. Mm-hmm. You have to. Sometimes people aren't going to always just bring up your name as being an amazing employee or anything like that. Sometimes you have to advocate for yourself, especially at a younger age in a large company.
Right. So that, advocating for yourself, I would just add one thing to that, which is value. What is, as you're thinking about advocating for yourself, are you just talking to hear yourself talk? Or are you adding value to the conversation? And don't dwell on that too much, but always be thinking about that. What's the value that I'm bringing to this audience, this situation? Hopefully, everybody here is getting a great deal of value out of this conversation. But I agree, find your voice and add value. Second fun question. We're all works in progress. What are you focusing on right now in your own personal leadership development journey?
A lot of it has to do around diversity, equity, inclusion. As the chamber, we work on bringing people into our community, and I think that's an important part. But there's also a lot of biases that I've grown up with that I didn't realize that I have, and I have to sit and learn about those things. But I have to actively seek out those opportunities to learn. So that's one. The other one is the work-life blend. It's finding the right energies at the right time in the right focus areas. I think that's always a opportunity for improvement, just to be better in kind of all the areas in my life.
Yeah. Diversity, equity, inclusion, so important. It is, by the way, everybody, is not lost on me that you are hearing from a bunch of white American males tonight. And that is something, it is a journey that I am on as well, is to be that ally, that advocate. Next time we do this, the lineup will look different. Absolutely. But just to punch the point on the biases that live within us, when I started picking up the phone to talk to folks who would be on the show, my subconscious biases that live back here in my reptilian brain, they do take over. So give yourself a bit of grace in that journey, but at the same time, what I needed to do was keep it in my working memory and do that. So thank you for that, Neal. Final question: what's next for the chamber? What excites you, and what keeps you up at night?
Providing the resources and tools for my coworkers is what I'm going to answer your last question.
So that keeps you up at night?
That keeps me up at night. And I talked about that for other leaders as well. But that's what keeps me up at night. I worry, when people are dealing with family issues and things like that, and they're still going to bring their best selves to work. How can I support that type of stuff? From the chamber perspective, we've continued to grow what we call our First Friend program, which is it's a community concierge program where people who are relocating to the La Crosse area actually get a community tour that's curated for them and their family so that La Crosse feels like home as fast as possible. They don't have to worry, the business doesn't have to worry about it. We can take care of that. It's one of the coolest programs I've seen that a chamber can run anywhere.
Yeah. So, Neal, what did we not talk about tonight?
You know, one thing that I've been thinking about just on what's kind of helped transform my life was actually a little bit of a story from my dad, and it happened not crazy long ago. So I went to school with this girl named Tammy, who was a couple of years below me at Columbus High School in Marshfield, Wisconsin. And when she was 28 years old, so just a couple of years ago, she was diagnosed with a rare cancer. Only 200 people in the world have ever had this cancer when they first discovered it in 1989. And my dad was her track and field coach. And she unfortunately passed away in 2020. Right in the height of the pandemic, April of 2020. Well, my dad, the nice guy that he is, messaged her dad and said, hey, I'm sorry about your loss. This must be a really hard time. She was a fantastic girl, young woman to work with. And if there's anything you need, let me know. Most people would write that message, I think. We would all probably write that message. Well, what happened was he got a message 2 days later that said, hey, Wayne, there actually is something that I could use, and it'd be your help carrying her casket to the burial place because there was no one. It was April 2020. Church services weren't happening. And so he texted me. I didn't know that this was happening, but he texted me, told me the story, and at the end of it, he said, today, I'm helping my friend. And I think that's a message that we can all take. Today, I'm helping my friend. My message to you is no matter who, you don't know who, what, when, where, why, or what capacity you're going to be called to serve or lead, but you better be ready. Be ready. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, I got chills from that. I don't know about anybody else here, but thank you for sharing that with us. Neal, thank you so much for being on the show. It's just so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me, Andy. This was fantastic.
Yes. So, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all of the major streaming services. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends and your neighbors. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.